I'm just gonna say if we need an extra minute.
If you're just go down to the end of the hall, the corner room, the corner office.
Right corner.
Mhm.
Maria, do we have everyone here?
I believe so.
Okay. Um, are the parties ready to begin?
I am.
Okay, perfect. Excellent.
Yes.
Let me call the cases to order. Freya, do we have a recording going?
We do.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. It's Wednesday, October 22nd at 2 p.m. We're having a virtual special hearing for case numbers 25541, 42, 254, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. Entries of appearance, please.
Sharon Shaheen on behalf of Tumbler Operating Partners.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dana Hardy on behalf of Marathon Oil Permian.
Thank you. And with us, we have technical reviewer Dean McClure. Welcome. Do we have any witnesses that the parties are going to call?
Yes, Mr. Patrick is here in the room and he's available.
Perfect. He's with you in the room?
He is, yes.
Oh, okay, very good. And Ms. Shaheen, do you have a witness that you want me to swear in now?
We may have a rebuttal witness depending on Mr. Patrick's testimony.
Okay. Is that potential witness with us now?
He is, yes.
Why don't we get them both sworn in at the same time?
All right, then just come on over.
Oh, good, perfect. Ms. Hardy, can you adjust your camera so
I think
I
if
can
Mr.
see her?
Patrick speaks, it should go to him.
Yeah, I
See.
think, let's see.
Okay.
I show up now?
No.
Let's see. Technology. If I can just turn my camera on here.
There you go.
Good.
There you go. Okay.
Oh.
Mr. Hardy and is it Mr. Patrick and Mr. Hardy? No,
Sorry, I stepped in. This is Mr. Collins.
Mr. Collins. Very good. Mr. Collins and Mr. Patrick, would you please raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give, and in your case, you might give, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, very good. Let's get your names and spell them out. Mr. Patrick, you first.
Tyler Patrick, TYLER PATRICK.
And very good. And go ahead, sir.
Dylan Collins, DYLANCOLLINS.
All right, perfect. Mr. Collins, you can get back off screen now, and if we get to you, then you're still under oath. Mr. Patrick, before we go through a bunch of other stuff, let me get something from you up front. Have you been qualified as an expert before this division?
Yes, sir. In geology.
In geology, perfect. Is there a subspecialty or is it just the overarching geology?
I believe I was qualified in geology, the overarching.
Okay, very good. Okay, Ms. Hardy, can you come back?
Yes, I should be here. We have a camera that's switching. Should switch when one of us speaks, and it's there. There I am. Okay.
There you go. All right.
This is the first time we've used this, so hopefully it works.
Let me recap why we're here and where we are. And if that's wrong, please, parties, correct me. We conducted a contested hearing. I believe it was in September. I don't remember the date. That's okay. About the 18th or so, I think, of September. And at that time, the parties were required to submit additional exhibits by the technical examiner. Let me just silence this here. Okay. Now, Ms. Shaheen, your Tumbler emails, were you asked to supply those by Mr. McClure?
Yes,
Okay, very good. And you first supplied them as 500 pages, then you cut them way down to 100 pages. That's correct, right?
that is correct.
Very good. I see two filings on 1010 in our imaging system. Freya, what are those? They both say Tumbler operating.
I need to pull them up 1 second.
Sure.
I will say I did not remove duplicate
That must be what it is. Okay. Will you do that, Freya? 'Cause I
exhibits.
think I'm
yes, I
looking
will.
at
I
some
was
duplicate.
waiting for today.
Right, because one is 4 times the size of the other. That must be it. Okay. Okay. Ms. Hardy, have you had a chance to review the 100-page email document that Ms. Shaheen supplied?
Yes,
Good. And you do not have an objection to that. Is that correct?
I do not object. I note that I think about half the emails were prior to the acquisition of Marathon by ConocoPhillips. So I'm not sure how relevant they are. But as long as that goes to wait, I don't object.
Okay. And Ms. Shaheen, do you want to clear up why they're there?
Well, I think they're important because they've been communicating with Marathon since well before the merger, and it reflects all of the communications relating to this specific development.
Okay. All right. That answers that question. Thank you. So it sounds like they're relevant, Ms. Hardy, unless you want to make an argument on why they're not relevant. We're going to say that they're relevant based on what Ms. Shaheen's told us. And Ms. Shaheen, these are representative of the nature of the communications between your client and Marathon. That's why you supplied them in, and you're supplying them to show bad faith. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm supplying them because we referred to them in our chronologies and they were discussed during the hearing, and Mr. McClure asked for the underlying emails.
Okay. Mr. McClure, do you have any question about what I've brought up so far?
Mr. Hearing Examiner, I do not have any questions about what was brought up so far.
All right, perfect. And then Ms. Hardy supplied some exhibits, and they were objected to. So we had a hearing last week on these exhibits. We learned from Mr. McClure that yes, in fact, this is what he wanted. It's not more than what he wanted. It's not Ms. Hardy trying to get in additional evidence under the radar, so to speak. But we did permit cross-examination. So is that what the parties, that brings us to today? Do the parties agree with that so far?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Shaheen?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right. So Ms. Shaheen, the grounds for the objection originally, have they changed? Do you still object to them now that you will have an opportunity to cross-examine on them?
We will likely move again,
Okay.
renew our motion to strike or at least redact with some substance.
Okay. Based on the expertise of the witness?
Based on the expertise of the witness and the scope of his testimony.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll deal with that in just a moment. Ms. Hardy, do you want to briefly remind us, I think you've told us last time, but briefly remind us why you submitted these exhibits based on Mr. McClure's ask?
Yes, because Mr. McClure asked for the geological parameters that were used to determine certain intervals in the bone spring were riskier than others, and that is why ConocoPhillips was not developing those intervals at this time. And our geologist, Tyler Patrick, prepared these exhibits. They were part of the geological parameters that he used, and so that's why we submitted them.
Okay. Mr. McClure, does that accurately depict what happened?
I believe so, yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So I think, Miss Hardy, is it time to call your witness?
Yes, it is.
All right. Very good. Why don't you call him and you go through whatever direct examination you want. I'm going to give you an opportunity to lay whatever foundation you want. If you want this division to recognize this expert in any other field, we'll need to go through that. But right now, he's been recognized as a geologist.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to share my screen.
Good.
so I can go through these exhibits. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. And I can't see the teams, so when I'm sharing my screen for some reason. But Mr. Patrick, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is this your supplemental exhibit B5?
Yes.
And did you prepare this exhibit?
Yes, I did.
And why did you prepare it?
At the request of the technical examiner, he wanted to know the variability in some of the geologic intervals here and why we did not propose wells in some intervals that Tumbler did propose in.
And were these well logs that you've shown here, what you consider to be the geological parameters that you use to evaluate the zones?
Yes, these were the parameters I used to specifically identify the geologically similar targeting in offset PDP wells.
Okay. And can you describe what's shown on this slide?
Yes, so the first column is going to be the gamma ray, and that's going to be show you how radioactive the formations are, or the lithology. So we use that for identifying different lithologies. The second column is going to be a depth track, and then that's going to be, the third column is going to be a resistivity, and the fourth column is going to be a density porosity curve.
Okay. And why did you select these wells for inclusion on this log?
I was trying to identify PDPs that were drilled in the Upper Avalon, the Third Bone Spring Carb, and the Third Bone Spring Sand in this area. That would give us somewhat of a similarity, even though there is still variability in the Avalon primarily. From the west to the east, we see that the porosity really drops off in the Madeira Federal 24 number 1 well, which is going to be a proxy for what we expect to encounter in the Goliath DSU, since it is in the actual DSU for the Goliath project.
And you show here at the bottom 9 miles. Is that, can you describe what that's referring to?
Yeah, that's a rough estimate from the first well B on the left to the last well B prime, which is in section 27, I believe.
And to make sure it's clear, were these parameters that you used in preparing your original hearing exhibits?
Yes.
Okay. And to be clear, this is only for the Bone Spring case, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Because we're talking about the Avalon and the Third Bone Spring.
That's correct. Yep. We're talking about the Avalon, the Third Bone Spring Carb, and the Third Bone Spring Sand.
Okay. Is there anything else on this slide that you wanted to point out?
I do want to point out that this is a 5-well cross section, and in the maps to come, it looks like there's a 6-well cross section, but the section 28 well is not present in this cross section. So I did make a mistake on drawing the B to B prime.
And that's on the subsequent exhibit?
Yep. Okay. So there's only one well that is east of the Madeira Federal 24 number 1.
Okay. And I'm looking at the next page of this exhibit, which is page 156 of the filed PDF. And did you prepare this exhibit?
Yes, I did.
And did you compile all of the information that's included here?
I did.
And did you do that in evaluating the different zones that ConocoPhillips or Marathon is proposing to develop?
Yes.
And is this part of your geological analysis of those zones?
Yes, this is how I identify similar targeting to make sure that we are looking at wells that are drilled in the same target interval that we can use as proxies for what we expect to see. And then we do a risking on top of that for any kind of reservoir quality that might change.
And what is shown here on this slide?
So it's going to be the Madeira Federal 24 number 1 is the log. The arrow is pointing to where these wells are landed that are shown up on the map that's in the middle. And then it's B to B prime, which is going to be that first cross section that I prepared, minus there is no well in 28 on that 5-well cross section. So it goes straight from the star to the B prime. And then I used these APIs and I pulled just some parameters from data. I pulled data from Inverse actually, and then I spot checked a few of them with on the OCD website to make sure that they were similar. And then I just put in some different variability. So what I'm trying to do is tie the production variability to some of the geologic parameters that we see.
Okay, and in referring to the production data that you pulled, is that shown here on the right in the table?
Yes,
Okay, and does that data include any type of forecasting or projections?
no, it does not.
Is it pulled directly from OCD or from the available public data for these wells production?
It should be, yes.
And I think you might have already said this, but to make sure I ask, is this the data you relied on in determining that the Upper Avalon was a risky formation for development at this time?
Yes, this is what I relied on to show that there is some variability in the Upper Avalon. And it also shows that most of the PDPs in this area are going to be to the northwest, closer to the B well, and where we do see elevated porosity. And so we do see the porosity drop off in the Madeira 24 Federal #1. And so we think we would have lower reservoir quality, and we don't think that's represented in some of those wells, but we do see pretty significant variability in the production numbers that I pulled.
And you obtained all of this data and compiled it yourself, is that correct?
That is correct.
You didn't use any reservoir engineering analysis or data in compiling this information, is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. It was all actual production information that's been reported.
And if the Upper Avalon was a proven reservoir at a later date, would you be able to come back and drill it at that time?
Yes, if we de-risk the Upper Avalon, we have the opportunity to come back and get those reserves at a later date. I think there's significant delta in TVD between any of the wells that we are proposing, that depletion risk would be very, very minimal.
And is there anything else that you wanted to point out or take away from this slide?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Ms. Hardy, does that slide have a separate, is this all B5? I'm trying to find out.
Yes,
Okay.
It's all part of Exhibit B5.
Perfect, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. Patrick, you're using an acronym I don't understand. And for the record, what is PDP? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. It's proved, developed, producing.
Thank
So it's going to be any well that's actively producing.
Thank you.
And you have a note here that the North Blondie wells have less than 12 months of production.
Yep. So there was limited production in some of these wells. And so I was trying to pull as much analog information as I could. So with having less than 12 months of production, I focused on the 6-month production numbers.
Okay, I'm going to the next page, which is page 157 of the PDF, which is also part of Exhibit B5. And can you explain what this slide shows?
It's that same cross-section, and it's also the same Madeira 24 Federal #1 well, which is what we're expecting to see in the Goliath project. And really what it's showing here is there's just not very many wells in this area altogether. And so we think that immediately makes it a high-risk reservoir just because there isn't a good subset of analog wells that are landed in this exact interval.
And similar questions to before, did you prepare this slide and obtain the data that's shown on it?
Yes, I did.
And did you do that as part of your geological analysis of the risk of the zone?
Yes, there's just not much proven developed producing wells in this area that are landed in this target.
And if this target zone was proved at a later time, would you be able to come back and develop it?
Yes, we will have the option to come back and develop this interval at a later date when we consider it not high risk.
Anything else on this slide that you need to point out?
I guess I do want to note that some of these wells are actually located in Texas, and so they will not have production numbers on the OCD website.
And where did you get the production numbers for those wells?
I pulled them from Inverse.
And is Inverse a database?
Yes.
And again, this was part of your geological analysis, right?
This was. Yep, this is how I identify targeting.
Okay. And then going to the next page, page 158 of the PDF, which is also part of Exhibit B5. Did you prepare this slide?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did you compile all of the data that's shown on it?
I did. Yes, ma'am.
And can you explain what is shown here on the slide?
So it's going to be very similar to the third Bone Spring carb slide. This is going to be, once again, the B2B prime. That's the 5-well cross section that was on the first, I guess, page of the exhibit. And then this is showing the arrow where the wells were being proposed in the third Bone Spring sand. And then this is showing the proved developed producing wells that were landed in that similar interval. And there's just, once again, not very many wells in this area.
And is this a zone that you could come back and develop later if it's proved?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else on the slide that you wanted to discuss?
I don't believe so.
Okay, and I think that those were all of the slides that Tumbler had objected to, but this is exhibit, supplemental exhibit B6. Is this a slide that you also prepared?
I did prepare this, yes.
And was this prepared in response to Mr. McClure's request?
I believe he requested the gun barrel. Yes.
Okay. And can you explain what this shows?
It shows our proposed development plan,
Okay,
our current proposed development plan.
thank you. And those are all of my questions for Mr. Tyler. I would move the admission of exhibit B5 and B6 if they weren't already admitted, and I couldn't remember that if they were actually from the hearing last week.
I don't think they were, because we were allowing Ms. Shaheen a chance to voir dire the witness. So Ms. Shaheen, why don't we start with, let's just begin with your objection as it stands now.
As it stands now, it stands on the reasons that were stated in our motion, in our objections, and that is that to the extent his testimony veers off into engineering testimony, we object to that testimony. And to the extent that his testimony goes beyond the scope of his testimony, we continue to object on that basis as well.
All right. So, Ms. Shaheen, I'm going to give you a chance to voir dire the witness now. Please ask him whatever questions you want to support your objection so that I can make a ruling on the objection, and then you can go ahead and cross-examine him once the slides are either admitted into evidence or redacted or whatever decision I make. So go ahead and do your voir dire on the witness.
Okay, this part will go to the testimony that Mr. Patrick previously offered, and to the extent his testimony today will relate to reservoir engineering. And Mr. Patrick, I'm sure you may recall that in the prior hearing, you testified that you submit wells, you identify wells and submit those to the reservoir engineering group. And then the reservoir engineering group conducts their evaluation based on spacing and completion size. Do you recall that testimony?
I believe so.
And you confirmed again, my analysis is to come up with component wells to hand over to the reservoir engineering group to put numbers to it. Do you recall that?
Yes, based on targeting. Yes, ma'am.
And you further said, quote, I'm not a reservoir engineer, so I don't create type curves. You testified, that's also your testimony, correct?
That is correct.
So any reference to EUR determination or economic risk that would require an engineer to calculate, that would fall within an engineering or reservoir engineer's testimony. Is that right?
Well, the geologic risk that we place on projects goes into the economic risking.
But any testimony that you offer on, in terms of economic risk, that would relate only to geological factors or parameters. Is that right?
Yes.
And you yourself are offering no reservoir engineering analysis today, are you?
That's correct.
And so your role in this process is to identify wells within a defined area that are, quote, analogs for a particular target, and apply a geologic risk for each of those targets based on certain geologic parameters so that an engineer may then determine EURs and potential economic risks. Is that a fair characterization?
I'm gonna object to the form of the question as being confusing.
Let me try again. I'll try to break it.
Hold on. When I understood the question, which is saying something, because sometimes I don't understand half of what you people are saying, but Mr. Patrick, did you understand the question?
I'd like to hear it again if possible.
Fine, of course it is. If you don't understand the question, you can ask Ms. Shaheen to rephrase. So by all means, okay, so objection sustained. Please rephrase.
Your role in this process, Mr. Patrick, is to identify wells within a defined area that are, quote, analogs for a particular target. Is that right?
Yes, I identify wells that are landed in very similar geologic targets. Yes.
And then you apply a geologic risk for each of those targets based on certain geologic parameters so that an engineer may then determine EURs and potential economic risk. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes.
At this time, Mr. Hearing Examiner, those are the only questions I have with respect to qualifications and scope of testimony. There are others related questions throughout my cross-examination outline, which is why I was going to reserve the right to object at the end of his testimony.
Well, I need to make a decision on whether these come in or not before you can go ahead and cross-examine him on them. So I understand from the voir dire that you just conducted, Ms. Shaheen, that I understand the limited scope of a geologist. He's been recognized as a geologist. What I'm not piecing together so far, and I'll give you an opportunity to argue it, and then Ms. Hardy can rebut the argument if she so chooses, is how do these exhibits fall outside the scope that you just outlined with this gentleman?
I think that will become more apparent as I cross-examine him. But with respect to any characterization of the numbers that are included in Exhibit B5, and with respect to any characterization as to risk that is outside of a geologic assessment, for example, the production numbers, the cumulative oil per foot of lateral, that kind of thing is ordinarily delegated to an engineer. And I understand that Mr. Patrick looked at some numbers and did some division, right? I mean, I could have done that too. So to the extent that's fact data, I don't think we're objecting to that. But to the extent he starts to opine on that in a way that may implicate the expertise of an engineer, we would object to that.
So, Ms. Shaheen, I understand what you're saying. Ms. Hardy, did Mr. Patrick supply an additional self-affirmed statement?
No, because
Okay.
Mr. McClure had just requested the
Okay.
data, so that's what we
Okay.
submitted.
Okay, so then really what we have here, what I can see, Ms. Shaheen, is data that is supplied by Mr. Patrick in response to what Mr. McClure asked. So what I'll do is I'll give you some more time to, as you say, go through your questions with this expert, and then you can make your argument and show me, because so far I'm not seeing what you're objecting to so far. However, maybe you'll show me something along the way. So do you want to pull up an exhibit? Are we going to go through these exhibit by exhibit, Machine?
Yes, we will, as I proceed through my questions.
Are you going to share your screen?
I will.
All right, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Patrick.
Afternoon.
I had a few threshold questions that I think are maybe irrelevant now that I know that you're in the room with Ms. Hardy, because I feel fairly confident that you don't have a device by which someone can communicate with you and tell you how to answer a particular question. And is that true?
I have my computer here. I'm not sure what you're exactly asking.
Okay, well, I'm asking whether someone can communicate with you to provide you with an answer to a question that I might have.
Yeah, I suppose someone could. Yeah.
And so I would ask that you put that device away so that no one is communicating with you while you are testifying.
I won't be able to see the exhibits. Just on my computer. I'm not sure.
Well, perhaps maybe you close your email or you close your chat or whatever you have that would allow someone to ping you, if you will, with an answer to a question.
That's team. I have to. This is through Teams. I can't close. No, I'm not going to get any information from people, but I don't see how I can close Teams and still be able to see the exhibits.
Okay, so can you just for the record confirm that no one will be communicating with you while you are testifying other than your attorney in the room who can object if she doesn't like my question?
Yes, that's going to be true.
Okay, and do you have any documents in front of you other than the unadulterated exhibits that were filed on behalf of Marathon?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I believe